Hey everybody, this is Pastor Chris. I'm coming to you live from Lexington Park Baptist Church, and this is PC Studios. How in the world are you doing today? I hope you are blessed and highly favored by God, and I hope you're having a good day. So anyway, good to be with you here today on the program. Make sure you sign in. Let me know you're here with us, whoever you might be out there. And I just want to thank you on January 26, 2023. Thanks for joining. If you want to be live on the noon hour, you need to be at facebook.com/Pastor Chris McCombs. But you can be on all other channels that we go out on Caster. So, hey, listen, some of you have asked about my leg. Yeah, I'm still not 100%, but trying to get there. Thank you for asking. But in God's goodness, I am healing. And hopefully, I don't think I'll be sitting this week when I preach. I'll be standing. So anyway, good to be with you today. We're going to finish off our talk. We're back in the book of 1 Thessalonians, chapter 4. We're going to look at verse 12 today, provisions and behaviors. And this week coming up, we're going to look at actually the return of Christ, having a righteousness perspective of death and Christ's return. So we're going to look at righteousness, return, rapture, those kind of things. This Sunday, it's exciting. So anyway, talking about Jesus coming back. So that'll be coming up this Sunday at 10. Hopefully you can join me and be here. So what about our work? What about God's provisions? What about our behaviors? How is this supposed to play out? The Bible actually speaks a lot about money, you all. And the Bible speaks a lot about work. And so here Paul is talking to the church in Thessalonica, making sure that they understand these concepts. And this whole book, I think, when you look at Thessalonians and you look at the church in Thessalonica, you're dealing with the concept of righteously living in our lives, and then, but as we wait for God's return, because we serve Jesus righteously now, but we know he's coming back. So we must live in the moment, but also live looking to his return. And so they kind of got caught up with this and maybe focused and thought the return was imminent, which I think we should all live in a way righteously that God could come back anytime. But I do think we should plan. I think we should be able to look at the future. I think we should be able to plan a retirement. I think we should build homes. We should live life and enjoy what God has given us until he returns, and do so righteously. And I think that's what's happening here in this last verse in chapter 4. I want you to see verse 12. And so that you may properly behave in the presence of outsiders and not be dependent upon anyone. So he's talking about provisions and he's talking about work here. One, you don't need to be dependent upon outsiders to provide for you. You need to be able to take care of yourself. You need to be able to work hard. Work with your own hands. Second, because it ties into verse 11. Now, most of us are dependent on an employer. I don't know that that's bad. For example, I'm dependent on you. I work hard for the church, and I'm dependent on you. Now, listen, a lot of people vote with their feet in their pocketbook. I don't know if you've ever heard that before, but in pastor's language, we know that when people get upset at us, that is to withhold their tithe check. It's sinful, it's wrong, or their walk. They leave the church. And it's sad that God's people do that. Anyway, getting back on this, that can happen, right? It is sad. Those things happen. But provisionally, I'm dependent on you. So I'm not supposed to be dependent on you. I could do other things. Paul was a tent maker. He was a missionary too. He was a preacher too. He did a lot of things. And so, and I could go work for base. I got a background in the military or something like that. I mean, there are things that if things get tough, we could try to make it, right? So all of us can try to be productive in life and be diligent in life in what we do. And our behaviors should align with that. So let's talk first about the behaviors. So one, we should have a good work ethic to where when someone that's not a believer sees us, they want to hire us. They want us on their team. We're the best people to employ. Listen, Christians should be the best people to work with. That's not always true. Christians should be the best employees. That's not always true. Christians should be the most ethical in their work ethic. That's not always true. So what's that mean to us? Our behaviors to an outsider should look good. We should have this work ethic, right? So we should have this down. We should say, so you may have, listen, work with your hands that and mind your own business and live a quiet life so that when you do things so that you may behave properly in the presence of outsiders and not be dependent upon anyone. So may our behaviors be such a way to where our character is noticed by outsiders and it's good. They may not agree with our morals. They may not agree with our beliefs. They may think, hey, I want to go party, and fine, you go home. Or, they may want to redefine marriage, or they may be into the gay movement, or they may support abortions, or they may support whatever, right? Things that we might not support. But they're going to look, though, at your work ethic and say, I want you to work for me. You're the type of person we're looking for. Your behavior is good. Your morals are good. Your ethics are good. Your standards are good. We should live a life working hard at home, at church, at recreation, and at our place of work. I said Sunday, you're going to be at your place of work more than any other place on the face of the earth. You'll spend more time working. God used 6 days to work, and the seventh day he rested as a model for us. Work is part of God's design for us. Now, initially, in the garden, work was not hard. The ground gave way, they could plant, they could grow things, it was easy. Now look, it's not easy. Work is not easy. If you're like me, you have aches and pains, you pull a muscle. Things happen, right? So, but we work, and we are a model person, and we have a good ethic and a value, and people see that. Outsiders see that, and they see that your work is going to matter. You need to like what you do, you need to love what you do, and you need to do it well. You need to like what you do, you need to love what you do, and you need to do it well. So whatever you do out there, if you're in human resources, if you're a pastor, if you're a trash man, if you're a secretary, if you are working on base somewhere and you're a contractor, it doesn't matter what you do. Whatever you do it well, love it, and like it, and honor God with it. You do those things, outsiders will notice it. Second thing is the provisions. When we deal with provisions here, we are supposed to be independent. Now, normally, I would say God doesn't ask us to be independent because we should depend upon each other and we should be dependent upon Him. And with this provision, I do believe it is. You are to work such a way that you don't depend upon others. In other words, we're not looking for handouts. We're not being... But there's a place for benevolence. Don't get me wrong. There's a place for benevolence, but we should not be in a perpetual state of benevolence. For example, if I were to have a hard time and lose my job in a normal setting, I should hope that people would help me, but we shouldn't constantly need that help. It might be you never need it. Ideally, you want to live a life to where you are not dependent upon anybody else. You're a good employee, you take care of your family, you take care of your bills, and you live a good life. And you like what you do, and you love what you do, and you do it well. You picking up on the little drift here? If you do those things, that's how it should be, right? So, but sometimes we fall in hard times. And I can remember a time in my life, I was 13. My father was the breadwinner. And he was in the wood industry, and he was a salesperson for a big company in Cincinnati, Ohio, and he lost his job. It was pretty devastating. It was devastating to my father, but it was devastating to the family. It was a difficult time. I could no longer get Nike shoes or pants that had a logo on the butt or all that kind of stuff that when you're a 13-year-old boy, they matter to you, right? They matter that, you have Nike shoes on or you have Jordache, pants or whatever it might be. And it was a hard time for me as a kid. My mom went to work. She did everything she could. She started cleaning at a middle school. Nasty work. She hated it. But she knew she needed the health benefits for our family. And she knew that we needed money. And though the money wasn't great, the work was just disgusting. I can imagine cleaning the toilets and all that kind of stuff. But my mom went to work. And then my dad started a business, and he did all he could. It took a while, but the business took off, and He had a successful business replacing and working with gas stations and replacing tanks underground back in the 80s. The environmental stuff, all the tanks were going bad, and people were contracting to redo that. So he got into that and ended up having a successful business. And eventually, that business went dry. And then his latter years, he drove a school bus to make money and to continue to pay. And my mom didn't have to work anymore after that. But it was a hard time. And maybe people helped us. I don't know. Mom and Dad didn't share a lot of it. I just knew we couldn't. There was discipline. You don't need that. You don't need this. You don't get this. You don't. It was just life, right? In that moment, it was hard, but we did everything we could to make ends meet, and we did. My point in this is, I look back at that and remember my family was my mom. I God bless her, the sacrifice she made for my family, and my father, the risk that he took and the challenge of starting a business. I mean, there's so many things going on. I bet it was stressful. How am I going to pay my bills? How am I going to do this? How am I going to do that? And they did it. And maybe people helped. Maybe they didn't. My whole point in here is we need to be independent, and we need to. But there might be a day when we need help. But even if we need help, we need to be like that work ethic. Let's do whatever it takes. Matthew chapter 6. I'm not going to reach the whole thing, but if you read Matthew chapter 6. You will find out that God says, hey, the birds have a nest. They have a home, right? The flowers of the field, they're dressed better than anything Solomon wears. I mean, he gives us examples. God will take care of you. So don't worry. Don't be anxious for anything. And in fact, it says, don't worry about today. Don't worry about tomorrow, because tomorrow has enough trouble of its own. Just focus on today. Today's got the issues for you, right? Focus on today. Live today. Live in the moment. And live trusting God for his provisions, but live in such a way that your behaviors reveal the true essence of who you are. That you love what you do. You like what you do. And you do it well. I hope when you see me as your pastor, I hope you see those things. I want to model that for you. I want to model a person that loves his job, likes his job, and gives his job everything, and does it well. I'm not asking you to say that I do that or I don't do that, but I hope I do in front of you. I hope you see that. And I hope that you appreciate that and you're grateful for that. And I hope I'm modeling that for everyone, whatever you do. I don't look at my job as working for a paycheck from you, but I do get paid. And thank you very much. I appreciate that, because I love what I do. I like what I do, and I do it well. I want to do everything I do for the Lord with excellence, but also, listen to what I'm going to tell you, because I know you. I believe you deserve that. I believe God calls me to be your pastor, and that you deserve me to do a good job of it. And so I do. And I think that can play over to anything that you do in life, wherever you work, whatever you do, whoever you serve. And that as part of that, they provide you a salary, compensation, to provide you a life, and hopefully a good life. And God wants to bless you. So love it, like it, do it well. And also remember to trust in God for his provisions as you do those things. As your behaviors align with God, trust in his provisions. I get all that out of verse 12. I know that's digging deep, but I hope that you can apply those principles to your life. And thank you for letting me share. That was hard for me to share. I mean, I don't think any of you can realize, as a 13-year-old boy, how hard that was for me. It was hard. And thank you for letting me share. I get a little emotional, but usually when I teach, I don't cry and all that stuff. But it was a big deal. But I learned a lot from it. And still, as a pastor and whatever I've done, I've been military and other things I've done, always do your best and give it your all. Give God your all. Whatever you do must glorify God, you all. And if you do that, you're going to be a really good employer, and God's going to take care of you. I really believe that with all of my heart. All right. Hey, God bless you guys. Listen, that's all I've got for this week. I'll see you Sunday at 10. Remember this, two realities. God loves you, and so do I. You take care. We'll see you.